Like, I have some time after this if you do, if you have any questions on what I sent over.
Okay.
Wait, I saw him. Not there anymore. Hmm.
I know I've had to do Teams before for other meetings, but I know sometimes our computers don't allow it.
If you
I
guys
actually was trying to hop on both in our network and out of our network. That's why it took me a second to respond to you, because I was trying to get on
gotcha.
from outside of our network. But
If you guys have a different platform that you want to send me, like if Zoom's better for you, just
yeah,
feel free to send me.
yeah,
I just don't have Zoom.
yeah.
I'll just shoot it a text in this group chat. I was looking at your guys' portal and it looks like you guys have done quite a few assessments, which is great.
Yeah, I actually haven't gotten into the portal.
Some level
Actually,
ones, some level
cool.
twos. It's great.
I did a couple. Carly took it from the Katie clinic and brought it to my home clinic, where I see patients with our top orthopedic referral. And sorry.
No, you're good. I'm just saying to John, if you guys want to use a different platform, we can jump to that if you want to send me an invite. Do you guys usually use Zoom?
We do.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to do that. I just don't have Zoom.
It'll take just a second, but
You're good.
I should be able to send something over real quick.
It is. See if this works. Yeah, it must be blocking you guys. That's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had that problem when I worked at Select too. There we go. Hey, John, are you on?
Hold on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Perfect. We can also switch over. I was just saying to Jackie, like, I just don't have Zoom, but if you guys want to do Zoom and you send me the invite, that works too. Totally up to you guys.
It's fine. Here, I think it was just more of a connectivity on my end. So.
You good with this, Jackie? Do you want to keep rolling with this?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Perfect. And then I was just saying to Jackie that Carly had sent me a text that she's going to be running a little late. So I just said I would record this for her. So are you cool with that? Okay. Just want to make sure everyone's being recorded. So I was just saying, I looked through your guys' portal. Looks like you guys have done like a few level 1s, level 2s, and a complete AMI. How are things going? Any questions or concerns or comments, feedback?
John, you want to talk?
On my end, I think it's just going to be more repetitions. I mean, I just got to do it more, and then just kind of understanding the scores, and then any pointers, explanations, on the score aspects of it. But as far as like the setup and things of that nature, I mean, I felt comfortable when we left, and doing it is just more repetitions on my side.
Okay, perfect. Anything from you at all, Jackie?
Yeah, it was, Carly was making like a list of some, I'm pulling up the training, maybe if we could pull up one of the reports. I
Yeah.
think it was where I had a question on,
Do you know what day you did it on?
oh,
Or what level? Here, I'm gonna share my screen. I have your guys' portal up right here.
Perfect, that's helpful. It's just those 4?
Mm-hmm. I just want to like first off by saying the portal is definitely a work in progress. Our goal is to have, so currently we don't have like names. Our goal is to have like actual subject entries. So like when you click on this, you'll have the actual subject name. But right now we don't have that. It's just the assessments.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, because I was about to say, because I know I did one with, Brandon Walters. And so I was like, hold on. But
I mean, we can cruise it. Do you know if it was a level 1, 2, or if it was a complete?
yeah, I know it wasn't a complete one, because I mainly did the core aspects. Because it was in the afternoon, but I don't know how the times are correct, because he was an afternoon patient.
Yeah, I think that one on 214 is mine, John, because I think it's all going under your name, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, at least
Okay.
because that's the count that's logged into on that iPad.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
because I don't think Carly switched or did anything within that.
So this one was
But
done on the 227 at 4:45. That's the one we have pulled up here.
yeah, 4:45 might. If it's just like a lot of the core stuff, not a complete one, then
Yep.
it's probably me.
It looks like a level 1. So core, no double leg squat.
Yeah, didn't do squats.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Did you want
this
to
was
talk?
what.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, yeah, because it was one of my like junior high baseball kids. So I just wanted to kind of use this as a, kind of a demonstrator of like, yeah, your core is weak and which side, just
Yeah.
kind of.
You want to run through this one?
Sure.
Okay. You want to give me a background on him? So you said baseball player, younger kid.
Yeah, so he was if I remember correctly, he was really tight external rotation. Can't remember if it was true little leaguer's shoulder, any growth plate issues, but he was having shoulder pain and limited external rotation. I think some of it had to do with nerve irritation as well. So we got that better. But then in the midst of the assessment, like he couldn't even do a single leg balance. Just a lot of this instability within the core and the lower extremity because, he progressed well through the upper, like basically once we calmed the nerve down and it got his motion back, he did very well as far as like you could say belly button up, scapula and shoulder stuff. But anytime we put him on one-legged stuff or any type of, core, he was falling all over the place. Kind of remind me like a baby giraffe, right? Big,
Yeah.
just trying to learn his body and things like that. Yeah.
Which shoulder was it?
Right side.
And is that his throwing arm? What position does he play?
He was outfield, definitely outfield, a little bit of infield and pitcher, but I know they were good with him not going back to pitching because of, I think this was a good eye opener or a scare for them. Like it's not worth it at this moment. But he was definitely right-handed.
Okay. So I think that's a good point. Like, I'll always bringing the parents in. The parents are going to be the ones making that determination. So like whenever I have minor that I'm doing an assessment on, I always make sure the parent's involved in it, whether they're watching the test or they're sitting in the waiting room and I bring them back for the report. That's where you're going to gain like, okay, we need more visits or what you're trying to get across to them. Something to make note of on the movement score. So our overall score is scored out of, I think it's like 506 points. So right now we're only scoring out of 168 points because that's what we're testing. So they do have an ability. So if you're like watching a progression, especially for like a high school athlete in ACL, I just want to make note, it's a lot easier for them to score higher on the level 1s and 2s because we're obviously doing like, you know, not as hard of exercises and things like that. So I just want to make note on that. Oh, Carly needs the team's invite again.
I sent it to her.
Okay, thank you.
I just forwarded it to her.
Okay.
So
Go
the
ahead.
scores so that like 168. So the denominator is basically adjusted to only the tests I completed, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, which I love because that is not how our old system was. So this is like a true score of like out of all the exercises, what they scored as far as the points go. Okay, so usually when I focus on movement score, knowing the patient is always important. A lot of the time I never really knew who the patient was. I was just doing the assessment. So I would make sure you're reading the patient, reading the room, all that good stuff. Because if you have a younger kid and they see a 57%, they're gonna like shut down sometimes, right? That's a fail. So just remember that you're in the driver's seat. You have the ability to show them if you want to show them this page, but if you're like, I'm gonna lose them, maybe something going on at home, or they're having a really hard time through this whole process, you don't always have to show them this page. Okay, but something I focus on, so 57% for your first time doing the test. It's not a horrible thing, right? Like it's the first time you've ever done this test. What we want to focus on is just progressing you back towards the green. There's a reason why you're coming in here. We just want to make you a better athlete. We just want to see you get better every single time you come in.
Hey, I have a question on that, Marka. So at what point will it, like, either the circle change, that movement score circle change to yellow or green? Like, what is the cutoff point there, the threshold? Is it like 80, 75, 90?
Yeah, so it's such a good question. I've asked our tech team this. Let me get back to you on that, like on our thresholds for these. I'm not for sure on the overall score. I know on the limb symmetry, it's like 90% is green. Let me get back to you on the threshold piece of it because that's a good question.
Okay.
Let me just make a note.
I was just curious. That way, it might help us with goal setting, and even speaking with physicians, like, hey, we've got 4 weeks. Our goal is to try to get them into the 75th percentile. You know, and if they exceed it, great. Or, you know, I know we're not this.
Yeah. No, that's a really good question.
Like
I'll ask
arbitrary. Yeah. But hey, Carly.
Hi. I had to download the Teams thing. It took forever.
You're good. All
yeah,
good.
we just pulled up one of John's reports and we're starting at the top and kind of working our way through it. It's a short one.
Okay.
Okay, so limb symmetry here. So your LSI, so you're 48% from your right to your left to your right. Okay, we typically, clinicians and physicians like to see 90%. So that's where we want to get you to, but we're going to dive into the metrics a little deeper to figure out like, what do we need to work on here, right? Now, like tossing in a positive moment, like you didn't lose your balance at all. So you were able to fight through that, which is extremely important, especially being in the outfield and then also a pitcher. Throwing, you have to be able to have your single leg balance. Okay. Now, to this point, I guess, now that I'm thinking about it, we didn't do any single leg exercises, so he shouldn't have lost his balance. But your AMI rating here, this will always be lower than your movement score. Okay. Your movement, your AMI rating is going to be your movement score plus some of these unchangeables here. Okay, so baseball or softball is going to go into it. The fact that they've had an injury, female athlete, if they've had a concussion, etc. We have a way of turning this off. So if you don't love the AMI rating piece of it, so when you guys are going through like the demographics, we've added into the new build where reason for testing, if you choose patient screen, it'll actually give you a shorter demographic list. So you'll just have like age, name, height, weight, reason for test, patient screen, and it'll take the AMI rating out. The longer version, so like return to, I think it's like return to play, that's going to have all of your demographics, your history. So just know that you can always take that out too. Any questions on this at all? So here's your LSI page. So on the left side, here's your left exercises with their score compared to your right exercises. Okay. In between each is going to be your symmetry of each. So it's interesting. He's a right-handed pitcher or thrower, right? And he's scoring better on his right side, and his shoulder issue was on his right side, correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
Love doing this assessment for baseball players because this speaks volumes to me on their right or on their left side plank. Okay. So on their left side plank, he's a right-handed thrower. Left side plank, we're testing glute med and obliques. So if he's having pain in his right shoulder, if he's a pitcher, his left oblique should be really strong, right? Because it's helping him rotate through. So that's not the case here. So when he's throwing, he's utilizing his shoulder. Nothing with his glute, nothing with his oblique on that left side. So to me, that speaks volumes of where we can target some of our strengthening. Does that make sense? Am I making sense on that?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, like I did a mass testing event of healthy baseball pitchers at their preseason. And then I also did a postseason assessment. We did like 20 pitchers. And anyone who was having shoulder pain, they were going to be scoring lower on their opposite oblique of their throwing arm. So it's super interesting because it's like you should be using your oblique to help you throw through. So here's an example of where we need to work a little bit more on the left ankle joint compared to the right ankle joint. Now, as far as like if he is a true pitcher, this kind of makes sense a little bit, right? Especially as they get older into their pitching. If they're a right-handed thrower, when they land with their left leg, it should be a little bit more straight so then their hips can kind of slingshot around. But what I always say is you have to be able to do both. You have to be able to have the mobility, you have to be able to throw correctly as well. Your movement report page here, this is just like a general statement page. So this is, remember, you're going to focus on, I have 5 to 10 minutes to talk through it with a patient. Where do I need to focus my time? Am I losing the patient? Are they starting to get really upset? Do I need to pull in some green? That kind of a thing. Okay, here are your thresholds for why you're scoring in the green or the red. Okay, for these specific exercises. I'll get you the overall thresholds though. All right, so I want to point out just really quickly, the max deviation, there should be a negative or a positive number here indicating if they went into flexion or extension. We put this on our new build. I noticed that we didn't have it on like for the last probably couple of weeks. So we put that on the new build, or like last month, I think we didn't have it. So moving forward, you guys will see a negative number. Negative means extension, or you'll see a positive number. Positive means flexion. Okay, so right here, I would just ask, like, did they go into extension, or do you know if they went into flexion, just like based off of what you saw, John?
They dropped, so I'm guessing that would be a negative then, right?
Yeah, exactly. So moving forward, when you test, you'll see that pop up on that max deviation. So basically what this is showing is your core strength, right? So are you actually able to utilize your core? Kids come in all the time. They're like, why do I need my core? I always say it's your main powerhouse to make you run faster, jump higher, throw more accurately, right? Do a better throw, be a better pitcher, be a better athlete. If you don't have your core, you don't have anything up and down the chain. So that's why we always train the core here. It's going to help support your shoulder as well. So here in the blue are our target values. This is what we want you to hit. Okay, right now your max deviation was 20 degrees. So just a reminder on how the plank works. You put them in that perfect position. If they deviate outside of 8 degrees for longer than 2 seconds, it will knock them a point. If they deviate outside of 8 degrees for less than 2 seconds and recorrect back into that starting position, it will not knock them a point. Okay. If they deviate outside of 8 degrees in the first few seconds and never recorrect, it will continue to knock points. So it looks like that's probably what happened here, is he deviated right away and never recorrected into that starting position. Okay, so indicating we need to work on core. Something that I've seen is like some of the fastest athletes that come in with like hamstring pain, low back pain, they'll score like a 5 out of 30 just because they don't know how to keep their core maintained. So you went into greater than 8 degrees into the sagittal plane. So your max deviation was 20 degrees here. Rotation, we didn't rotate a ton, which is great. Okay, which is good for like a baseball player. We want to work rotational exercises and anti-rotational exercises to stabilize and support. And a positive here is you held it for the entire 60 seconds. So you fought for that, which is great. Okay, but this is just indicating that we need to work on this piece a little bit more. So if he were my athlete, I would never really put him into a 60-second plank. During rehab, I would maybe start with like 4 sets of 20 seconds, really working on quality work there. Questions, comments, feedback on the front plank at all?
No, that's helpful. Like everything you, like the stuff you've been saying about negative, positive,
Yeah.
flexion, extension,
Good.
the peak. I guess I didn't realize it was a peak measurement. So that's helpful.
Yeah, this right here is going to be your max. Yep. Okay, so side plank. So the shoulder side, right? This would be a question where I'd start asking them like, did you feel your shoulder at all during this exercise, like when you're doing it? Because you have the objective numbers, but then I also want to understand like, are you feeling your shoulder? Because the moment you feel your shoulder in a side plank, we've lost our glute, we've lost our core, right? And then we're starting to dip into our shoulder, so we're compensating somewhere, we're cheating. Okay, so his overall score 28 out of 30, which is great. Max deviation, he went into 16 degrees. Again, this will have flexion or extension. Okay, so negative will be extension, flexion, or positive will be flexion here. But it looks like it happened at the very end. He also did rotation. He did 18 degrees of rotation. But again, this looks like it happened at the very end because he scored a 28 out of 30. I would just say as far as like the right side plank, just relating it back to his sport, if he's a right-handed thrower, he has to be able to load and push off of his right leg. We're working his right glute med and his oblique here. So specifically in that right leg stance, he has to utilize his right glute. And so it'd be an interesting one to test his like single leg squat and hop and things like that too. Questions,
Yeah, I have a
comments?
question on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the negative, positive for the flexion, the side plank. So just to clarify, so we're gonna assume that 16.49 is negative, correct? We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. I would assume it, like, I guess, John, do you know if his hips drop towards the ground?
I'm gonna guess, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
like
Into
he started dipping and then he started falling, going towards forward. So that's where that rotation comes in,
Yeah.
'cause he basically started fatiguing out. I mean, he held it, but then, started dipping. So I guess that's definitely the observation. Yeah. If you're there, I can speak to it, but like if you're not there and you're trying to report out, right, then the negatives and positives definitely come into play. So
Yeah,
that's helpful. Yeah.
And so,
So negative. So if it's a negative 16, you're basically saying if he's in a right plank, his right hip is falling to the floor if it's negative, right?
yeah.
Okay.
That's how I would.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that.
If you guys
And
start
then
to
on
see,
the
like, if you see that and you're like, this doesn't make sense, let me know. And I'll dive a little bit deeper into that. But that's what would make sense to me. Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
And then the new update, like ours will now say negative and positive. That's my question.
Yeah. So Yeah, so moving forward when you do this, so in order to do that, all you have to do is just like kill your app. Don't uninstall and reinstall it, but like pull it up into the home screen like on your iPhone when you get like all your apps and you just swipe it up and then go back into it. And then moving forward, all of your assessments should show that, yes.
Yeah, that was my questions. Like, what do we do to get updates? Because I mean, like on the iPhone, right? On the updates, you hit update all and all that other fun stuff. So with this, do you have to do that, or is it just literally close out or
Close out,
whatever
close
you
back,
just say?
close out, open
Yeah.
back up. So when we
Okay.
went through training at first, we toggled on all of your app updates. So if you go into like your apps, or if you go into your settings and you go into apps, you want to make sure automatic updates is on. If that's the case, then you'll get it automatically. If it's not the
Okay.
case, then you'll have to go into the app and update. Now, the one thing I will say, if you do anything to adjust the app, if you have not synced your reports to the portal, or if you have not uploaded any videos to the portal, that'll all be deleted locally off the iPad. So you'll want to save any videos. So you'll just go into like the app version of the assessment and just press upload. That'll go into your portal and you'll be able to see it here. And like with those videos, like some people are like, do I have to save all of them? Like, no, you can just pick a couple that you want to save. But if you just kill the app and bring it back open, you'll still have all of it locally. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
The left side plank.
I think the planks make more sense now. I'm good with kind of knowing how this is scored and the flexion, rotation. It doesn't, the positive, negative on the rotation, I'm guessing positive is going to be like forward, negative would be into extension, which would be backward, or do we know that?
So I would say rotation's tough. Rotation would probably be positive would be to the right, negative would be rotating to the left.
Okay.
But in reference to what? Like, so, because like if on this left side plank, if my left arm's down, so if I'm referencing, say, the right ASIS, is that rotation going towards my left? Like, how are you defining rotation, like with lefts and rights?
So if I'm standing and my hips move to the right, if I rotate to the right, my left hip comes forward, my right hip comes back. If I'm standing and I'm saying rotate to the left, my right hip comes forward, my left hip goes back.
Okay.
And then putting that into a plank position if I'm planking on my right side. Okay. Going to the right would be left hip forward, right hip back.
So if I'm on my right side, you're saying my left hip is coming forward, right? It's going back. Would that be a positive, or is that a positive number? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So it's finite no matter what position you're in. Okay. That makes sense. I don't have any more questions about planks. Do you, John or Carly?
No.
No. This was helpful.
Good. Yeah, this one's really cool because poor kiddo, right? But it totally makes sense. Like your right shoulder hurts, duh, you're not using anything to help you rotate through. So like utilizing a lot of rotational exercises, getting him to pull in, helping support his shoulder. I love seeing that the sensors pick that up because that's super common. I've also seen that a lot in volleyball players too.
Yeah. So basically all arm, right?
Yeah, all arm. He's just whipping it through. So yeah, for sure.
You're gonna have his shoulder. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions here? This would be also something. So the sensors, let me look at your guys' data real quick. So the target values are a little high there.
Yeah, that target value is an actual degree. Like you're looking for 40 degrees of tibial, like anterior shin angle or positive shin angle. Is that a degree?
Yeah, that's a degree.
40
it's looking
degrees.
like maybe these sensors were put on incorrectly. I'm just going to pull up in your, because we should be like at, 40 or less. And then here we're picking up we're not picking up anything. So I'm going to look at the data tracings on your.
He's got some ankle instability, right, John?
And I'll just say this happens all the time. So let's just double check. Just
Oh, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
This is definitely this was my first one solo.
Yeah.
Or outside of that training. So yeah.
It happens. Totally happens. Just a reminder, the lights go up, vertically placed on the shin. White goes on right, purple goes on left. And this happens to everyone, right? But like, I'm glad we caught it. So I'm just going to take a look at your guys's data tracings inside the app real quick.
We could track by 180, right? If it's upside down, so something, something. 20 something.
Yeah, just
what was this kiddo's name?
subtract.
Was it Braden?
Walters, Brandon. Yeah, Braden Walters.
Let's just see. Any other questions while I'm having this load at all?
That's all on this one, right, John? Yeah, okay.
Okay. So, okay, yeah. So, I don't know. Here, let me stop sharing my screen. Wait for it to kind of just even out. You see those data tracings on the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
And then you see the reference pattern at the top. So up here. So it just looks like the sensors were misplaced, which it happens. So it could have been like the sensors were switched, or it could have been that the sensors were upside down. It happens. Okay. But let's just double check the plank. Plank looks great. So the upper back looks good, lower back looks good. Those are all accurate. Any questions on sensor placement, or just like need practice, and that's totally fine. Yeah. Okay.
Can we pull up? Oh, sorry. I had a question on, I think Carly reminded me on, I think it was 2/14, because that would have been a Tuesday.
Share my screen.
I think that's right, Carly. He did planks, single leg hop. No, we didn't do single leg hop. He wasn't hopping. We did single leg squat.
Do you know the name of the kid? I'll look on the app and then reference it here. Carly, you weren't here when I was saying this. The portal is just like a work in progress. So you're only going to be able to see the date and the time, and it's in Australian time, or I'm sorry, Australian date. But what was the kid's name?
His first name is Zach.
Okay, so the most recent one you did. The level 2.
Yeah, I think we did planks.
We did a lot of them. I thought we did hopping, maybe not.
I don't think we did hopping with him, because I remember working with his trainer.
Yeah.
So you did all the core, single leg squat, and ankle lunge.
Yeah.
What was your question on this?
I think it's on the single leg squat.
Yeah, number
pelvic movement.
4.
So,
oh,
Carly's trying to jog my memory.
Yeah, it's like it's the sheet or the other sheet. Number 4.
So can we just can you do the same thing you did on the plank, where you start at the top with the target values and you kind of walk us through? I think this is where I didn't know pelvic tilt, like which way he was dipping.
Yeah.
I mean, I can guess that it was probably in like Trendelenburg, you know, that situation, right?
Yeah.
But
Let's go through it. I'm looking at your
but
guys'
if they're, I could see if someone is like overcompensating with their trunk, then it would pull the pelvis in the opposite lateral tilt. So
I'm looking at your guys' capture. You guys did a really nice capture on so you captured the entire bell curve, which is great. So just a heads up, you
that's
guys really
Carly.
need to send that. Good job, Carly.
That was all
Thanks.
Carly. I just stood around and pointed.
That's the hardest part, honestly. Okay. Let's run through this. So I'll go from like start to finish. So your overall total limb quality is 51. So you're scoring in the green. That's going to give you a picture over here, straight up, straight back down. Okay. Here are all the metrics that are being scored. The blue is our target value. So this is where we want you to hit it. Okay. We have the average and we have the max of each rep. And then below, obviously, we have each rep for each metric. Okay. Now, if you're like, what do I need to focus on? There's a lot of data here. Focus on the colors. That's what we always say. Okay. Now, everyone's different. So we have some customers that like to look at the overall score. Okay, you scored a 51, you're looking really good. We have some people that focus a little bit more on different types of metrics. The first thing I always focus on is tibial inclination. Okay. But as far as the scoring goes, the speed is weighted the highest, and then valgus is weighted the highest as well. And the reason for that is from the literature and just simple physics. If you have a large magnitude of valgus at a high amount of speed, we're going to create a lot of force. Okay.
Good.
What'd you say?
Oh, our dietitian just said hi to me.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Teams is a little funky. I can kind of see you guys, kind of not. But what I like to look at is tibial inclination, because to me, I think like, okay, I really want to tease out, do I need to look at mobility first? I think of depth always first, and then I would want to control you in that depth, right? So that's like how my mind works. So to me, tibial inclination, remember we're measuring that tibia shifting over top of the ankle. So is it translating over top of the ankle? Are you going into the right amount of depth here? Are you allowing your knee to translate forward? Yes and no, right? So like you're not hitting the tibial inclination that we want you to hit. So you're hitting 31 degrees. You're currently at 29. Now it's a few degrees off. So that's where I would take a lot of these into consideration as well. Like how well are you doing on the other metrics? This is a quick fix, okay? So 29 degrees of tibial inclination, we want to see what you look like within 31 degrees. Your max was 32 here. Okay, so we know you have the ability to do that, but average we're 29. So then I look over at the valgus number. So we have negative means valgus, positive means varus here. The more provocative movement is valgus, okay? A lot of research wants you to stay within like 9 or 10 degrees. We have 8 degrees because we want to challenge, right? We want to make sure that you're staying within that. So 5 degrees, you're staying less than 8 degrees, so you're hitting it, but also it's within 29 degrees. I want to know what you look like within 31 degrees. So if I were to take this athlete or this patient, first thing I would work on is allowing that knee to translate forward. Okay, because you're scoring in the green, but within 29, I want to know next time if we do a test, if you hit 31, are you still going to score in the green? Okay. Does that make sense so far? On like the way that I'm thinking? Okay.
Yes.
So then you have your pelvic lateral tilt. This will always be a positive number. Okay, it's an absolute value of all of these reps here. Now, they're scoring 10.01 over, like they're scoring 0.01 over. Still going to be in the red because they didn't hit that 10 degrees, okay? But what I want to look through is I want to know, are you shifting to the left? Are you shifting to the right? Are you going into Trendelenburg? Are you going into retro Trendelenburg? Okay, so this will always be a positive number. It's an absolute value. So I have to go down below and find the trend here, okay? Negative numbers means hips drop to the left or hips shift to the left. Positive numbers means hip drops to the right or shifts to the right. That's on right and left.
Wait. So that's finite. Like it doesn't matter what side you're squatting on.
So negative will always be to the left, positive will always be to the right.
And that's the
Oh,
same for edge rotation, you said, right?
Correct.
Isn't that what we said? Okay.
Correct. And it'll be the same for double leg squats as well. Shift to the left is negative, shift to the right is positive.
Okay.
Okay. So what I have to look at, what's my trend, negative or positive, and what leg am I standing on? Okay, so I'm standing on my right leg. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So majority of the time I'm shifting over to the left. I'm standing on my right leg, my left hip drops. I lose my right glute med. That's Trendelenburg. Okay.
Got it.
If I see
Thank you.
if I see a positive trend, I'm standing on my right leg. I'm side bending into my QL, retro Trendelenburg.
Yeah.
If I were to compare that to the left side, so scrolling down to the left, I see my positive value. I look at the trend. Trend is typically positive. I'm standing on my left side. That means hips going to the right. I lost my left glute med, Trendelenburg. Okay, so you have to look at what's my trend and what leg am I standing on. Because they'll flip flop Trendelenburg on the right and the left. Does that help?
Yes. I think that was one of the main questions I had that day. Because part of it was I wasn't watching the test. Like there was multiple things going on that day. And so when I went and looked at the data, like 45 minutes later with Dr. Lowe, I was like, I don't know which way it was.
No, you're good. But that's why we have that, because we know that you guys are like literally multitasking, wearing a million different hats. Like I saw 6 to 10 patients today. What happened here? So that's why it's there. Totally.
Yeah. And
So-
that, just to reiterate, sorry, John, just to reiterate that varus valgus speed is at the max point of tibial inclination, correct? If I remember that from the original one we did with Jamie.
Yeah, so exactly. Yes.
Okay. So I think previously we never had an average. We only had one, right. And it only captures an average and a max, but it doesn't give it to you for each.
Yeah.
Oh, it does give it to you. But I see it. Okay, got it.
Yeah, so you're able to
Yeah,
see like, okay, whoa, we need to warm up a little bit, right? Because you actually get better as you get into the exercise. And then you can
Okay.
flip-flop it. Like as you're getting fatigued, you're losing it.
Start to lose. Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
John, did you have a
That's helpful,
question?
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, on that pelvic lateral tilt,
Mhm.
I mean, you're basically wanting that number to be as close to 0 as possible, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Under 10.
Yeah. And so I think it's fair to say like your hips are going to move side to side, right? Like we know that they're going to be side to side. You're going to be functional in that. So that's where we give you like, we just want to pull you out of that risk range, out of that threshold range. So to be quite honest, like this person's 0.01 degrees over. Do I really care about it? I don't know. It just really depends on like if 0.01, like, yeah, you're still at that pelvic lateral tilt, like you're over it. So you're scoring in the red. But that's where I would then put into play of like, do you have pain when you do this? What am I working on here? What are we getting you back into? Did you go to the depth that we needed you to? Like that kind of a thing. Okay. So what I always say is like, we're giving you guys the metrics. You guys use your clinical knowledge and like what you know about the patient to make your determination. And then speed of varus valgus. I will say like the majority of athletes that I've worked with, and you guys may have had the experience, like they think that speed should be high. I always lead with like, you want speed to be as low as possible, right? So like, I think of speed as control and stability. Do you have control and stability over that? Okay, and yeah, you do pretty well, but again, that's within 29 degrees. I want to know what you look like within 31. So if this were my athlete, and this is just the way that I think, I would work on their depth, so allowing their knee to translate over top. And then if I do this assessment again if each of these numbers go up and I actually accomplish and I want this number to go up, that's going to be my goal. Like, I'm going to kind of give them a free out of jail card. Like, our goal here is like to increase your tibial inclination, and then we'll control you. So I wouldn't be surprised if these numbers go up the next time you do this test. So that's just kind of how I explain that. Anything
So
else?
all that is good. Yeah, I have a question about the tibial inclination. I understand the target values or metrics for all the others. Can you go over where the 31 degrees came from for tibial inclination? Like where was that threshold or bar set?
Yeah. So that was us mining all of our data together. So based off of what we're figuring, we want you to allow 31 degrees of tibial inclination to move forward. So do you have the mobility of that? Do you have the strength of that? Do you have the trust of that? So it's us mining all of the data together where we found 31 degrees is a good threshold.
Okay. But the others are based off of like biomechanical research, right? Like
And
like
us
you
mining
mentioned
the data
earlier.
together. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So we took both into account. And this
Okay.
same thing, research plus mining it together, what we're figuring out. Yep. Okay, so, oh, go ahead. Someone say something?
No, he was just that. I don't know that we need to look at this a ton more. He was tight on both ankles, which is why his tibial inclination isn't as deep. And he knows that he's had a history on both ankles before. So
one thing I do want to point out here, so like 13 degrees of that absolute value, he's going into Trendelenburg. He's only scoring 4 degrees of valgus, but to me, this is still provocative movement because it's a high Q angle. So that's just something that I look at too. So it's really like, yeah, maybe his valgus, he's not going into valgus, but he's definitely cheating in his hip. So that would be something that I would focus on and correct too. So
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So it really helps you kind of tease out, like, is this an ascending issue? Is it a descending issue? Even though you're not hitting the valgus, you're still cheating. You're still creating a really high Q angle for yourself. That's a risky movement. Any other questions, comments, feedback? You want to look at another report or anything?
Do you have any hopping ones? Carly or John, do you know if y'all did any hop stuff?
We have that complete AMI from training, I think. You want to look at that? For the hop?
Barbara, I think we did her. I think hers were decent, but it would be good to look over that. Carly, have you done any hopping on anybody with this one?
Didn't we do the SFA soccer girl? Or did she not? I think she.
Oh, Colleen.
Yeah.
You're so sweet. Yeah, what day was that? Was that the same day?
Tuesday. Oh yeah, it's the same day. Same day as that.
Was it February 14th? Are you sure? We just saw her.
No, it was not Valentine's.
That was the day we did Zach, but I only had a couple people that day. I don't think.
So Zach.
I don't think we did Colleen on this one. I think we did Colleen on the other one, maybe.
Zach wasn't on Valentine's Day either.
Oh, it wasn't?
So this looks like Colleen's test. And it looks like you guys did a level 1 with her. Let me just make sure. Yeah, you guys did a level 1.
321. 321.
And I'm looking at your iPad. Is it Colleen F?
Yes.
Yeah, you guys did a level 1, so no hopping on that.
Oh.
You want to go through it still? It's up to you.
Yeah. Oh no, can we go through the hopping?
Yeah. So I love looking at the LSI page just really quickly. Just like to take a quick glance here. Like, where do I need to focus my attention? Like, well, what happened on this left side when we got into a single limb? And then definitely bilaterally impact. So like, I just will take a glance at this and be like, I need to really focus my attention over on this left side, single leg squat for sure. And then bilaterally, we're symmetrically poor. I always also look at the ankle lunge too here, just to kind of take a quick glance. But if let's go into the single leg hop. Okay. So something to make note of when you guys are doing the assessment, this is going to be on the second bell curve. Okay. So the first bell curve is they're loading. The peak of the bell curve is them bending their knee to load. As they jump, it dips down. As they land, their peak of their knee bend is going to the peak of the bell curve. Okay. So our algorithm is pulling from that second bell curve. So if they have someone who's like, and I used to teach this in performance, like if you're jumping and you're driving your knee up and you see 3 bell curves, it's going to be that knee drive or that knee bend backwards. So really, really tell them to like push to the ground, keep their legs straight as they're jumping. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to point that out. Okay, so as we're looking at this again, it's all coming from that second bell curve. So the landing portion, the more risky movement. So tibial inclination, are you jumping and landing with a bent knee? Yes, you are. Valgus here, we're going into -15. Majority of the time she's going into valgus. Okay, so that's a large amount of valgus right there. Okay, at a high speed. So this is a pretty risky movement. To me, this would be like a red flag. Pelvic lateral tilt again. So I'm looking at it, I'm on the right leg, majority of the time is positive. So she's side bending into her side as she's landing. So she's going into retro Chenellenberg. She's catching herself with her QL here. So from a performance,
pushing her more into valgus, right? Like as she's leaning away. Got it.
Yeah, and this is a trend I've actually been seeing a lot of lately. People side bend, they catch in their hip a ton. So if I were explaining this from like a performance standpoint, your single leg hop is you running, right? You're hopping from one leg onto the next leg. So every time you have to land, you have to stabilize yourself, which is wasted energy. Okay, so in order to make you run faster or be more efficient in your movement, we want to stabilize you so you can load and push and make it into your next step. I always relate this back to performance because like we think this stuff is cool, but like the athletes are like, I just want to be a better athlete, right? So always relate that back into performance. Any questions on this, or do you want to go through anything in specific?
How did you? Oh, never mind. I answered my own question.
There you go. Carly, do you have anything, or John?
Mm-mm.
No, good. Hop to plant, just real quick, the one thing I would point out is this is forward. So rep 1's forward, backwards, outside, inside, forward, backwards, outside, inside. So I really like to look and see like where do you do the best at and where do you need work at, especially if I'm returning them back to play. So I can really assess like how do you work laterally versus how do you work like back and forth on this. So if they're scoring really poor in that lateral movement and I'm seeing like a ton of red here, am I going to transition them back into like full on return to participation with contact? Probably not. Right? Like I want to like work on some controlled aspects first, like maybe putting them into non-contact drills before I do anything. So that's just something that I utilize this data a ton for. I know we have 5 more minutes and I want to be respectful of your guys' time. Do you guys have any other questions? Was it helpful? Do you want to go through anything else?
This was helpful. I had one question on this. These are all, you may have said I was trying to take some notes about some stuff, but these are all the same metrics as in the single leg hop, right? The single leg hop plant and the single leg hop are the same.
So speed's going to be different. Tibial inclination is going to be different.
So the target value for speed allows for a higher speed because you're translating.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the recoil. Or, oh, the tibial inclination is the same. Yeah, in the old system, it's not. The speed, or I'm sorry, the tibial inclination is the same. The speed's different. But yes, exactly.
Okay.
What else, guys? Any questions on administering it, like having any issues or anything like that?
I'll leave that one to Carly and John.
No.
The thing I would just take it, like what I felt was super beneficial, like working with my team, is creating like a criteria list of who's going to be doing the, like what type of patients are doing the assessments. So it kind of puts it in the forefront of my mind a little bit more if your physicians like it. So like we made a criteria list of like every athlete that comes through here, like upper body, lower body, they're going to do an assessment. Any weekend warriors with any like lower body pain, they're going to do an assessment. Any lower body injury, they're going to do an assessment. So, and then what we would do is, I don't know if you guys do like weekly staff meetings or monthly staff meetings. We would be like, okay, who has a patient that needs to do a dorsivy assessment? And who's going to run it over, or like email the physician who's going to do it? Who's going to talk to that patient? So it just kind of held us a little bit more accountable. And that was a great way that we could build a relationship with the physicians and like just sending them objective data. So
Yeah.
creating a criteria list and then just constantly like bringing it up like at the staff meeting. All right, who has a dorsivy? Who's going to talk to him about it?
On the AMI one that you're showing us, does it have like a free text box like it does on the other dorsivy where you can write or interpret the data?
No, but that is in the queue to add. So
Okay.
as we're adding into the report, that is like part of something that we want to add to it.
Okay.
I know that was super helpful.
Carly and I use that. I don't use up all three of those lines. Like it's a pretty wide area. We try to be pretty succinct, almost like in bullet form. But it was helpful to be able to write on there when I've got several in a row, or we'll see upwards of 15, 16 patients in that morning. And so I forget who's got what issue, but
no, it's in the queue to work on. So when that comes out, I'll let you guys know. Yeah.
This was helpful. Thank you.
Good.
Carly, is there anything else? Because I know I'm always like, hey, Carly, write that down. Hey, Carly, that's a good idea.
I know there is.
That.
I just don't know where my sheet is.
I think that was most of them, though, when we started talking about lateral tilt.
Yeah. It was mainly the value. I'm honestly a little lost, but I think it'll take time for me to just keep running the report. And like running the report's no problem, but it's talking about it, and it's definitely a lot more information than the original dorsivy. So I think what will help me, I think Shauna did this with me a lot. I bugged her a ton. I sent her probably 7 different reports I would do, and I would type what I thought I saw, and then she would say you're spot on, or well, I would because I don't have the PT background, so I'm learning all of this too, kind of. I mean, I've been in it for a little bit and I know things, but I'm not licensed, so I don't know. I can't interpret like you guys can. And so I think that's where I struggle with like reading the report and like I guess giving people what to do.
The thing I would recommend is like put your body through that motion.
Yeah.
Right. Like if I know that negative means like my left hip drops, then like what am I feeling as far as like my body posture goes or my glute goes?
Right.
That's what I would recommend doing for sure. And yeah, you can send reports off. It's probably a good time for me to let you guys know I'm actually going on maternity leave starting Wednesday. So Sean is going to be.
You're pregnant?
What'd you say?
I said, are you pregnant?
I am pregnant. Yeah, you guys can only see me from here up, but
yeah,
I'm large and in charge. That is for sure. Like I'm huge. So, we're gonna be doing a C-section on Wednesday. So I will be on maternity leave, but Sean is actually gonna be one of the people who's covering for me.
Awesome.
send her reports anytime. What I'll also do is I have a video of me interpreting the data, and I'll send that over to you guys. It's like a tips and tricks sheet. So some of it's like if the sensors disconnect, here's what you can do. It's a YouTube video. There's a YouTube video of me interpreting a report too. But I think just like, yeah, send the reports over, see what you see. And I think, Carly, to your point, like you're going to see something different than what I'm going to see.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the beauty of it, right? We have all these minds working
Totally.
together. So,
And
yeah,
what's your background, Carly?
it's like strictly biomechanics, exercise physiology.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm in a PT clinic, so I work a lot with, the PTs, and I know knees, I feel like. Don't
Yeah.
ask me another body part, but
We'll stick with that.
knees,
And I'm
I'm
an athletic trainer. I'm an athletic trainer, and I worked in like the outpatient division, so I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Just like listen to each other as far as the report interpretation goes. And my biggest advice is just do the movement, see
Yeah.
what it feels like, because that'll make sense. And the thing that I think you'll have is like being able to like relay this over to the athletes and to the patients. Like this from a performance perspective, this is what you have to think about doing.
Yeah. Okay. And so if I were to send you or Shauna, since you're leaving for a bit, is her email the same at Dorsivy? Because I thought she wasn't with Dorsivy.
Yeah,
anymore.
she's always like been contracting with us.
Okay.
But yeah, it'll be the exact same. I'll send you hers, and then also I have an athletic trainer stepping in to help me too.
Okay.
But since you have a relationship with Shauna, I know that it'll make more
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Okay.
But then when I return, like I'm happy to step in if you want to do like an hour, just like you tell me what you see. Oh, I
Yes,
didn't see
love
that, like that kind of a thing. Watch
Yeah.
the video back. I have this recorded as well, so I'll send you guys this too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem. Thank you guys.
And good luck next week. We'll be
Yeah.
praying for a safe delivery.
Yeah, you and me both. Thank you. It's a big
It's
baby.
gonna be
so-
fine.
All right, guys.
It's gonna be good. You're gonna be great.
Thank you. Appreciate
Bye.
it. All right, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Have a good
Thanks.
weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, thank you.